And we've been very fortunate to sponsor and also support Ritaj, not only through her great writing, but also through her series that she's leading for young writers. So it's great to have you here. And we're super excited to be able to also announce that Ritaj is now leading a very special sector in our Innovation Ecosystem Society. And she is leading the Young Entrepreneurs sector. So Ritaj, if you don't mind sharing the second slide here, and we're also going to be sharing with you this QR code, and this is where you can actually join. And if you have difficulties with the QR code, that's okay. You can send us an email. You can send us an email in relation to innovation@waed.net, and we can send you the link where you can also register in our Young Entrepreneur sector. So if you haven't already completed that from our last session last week, we'd really like to invite you to be part of the special sector that we have set up in the Innovation Ecosystem Society to really honor and support the growing young entrepreneur sector that we have in our society. So if you don't mind using either the QR code to register, and if you have difficulties, just please send us an email. All you need to do is put your name and then add entrepreneur in the various different fields. As your students, you're not associated with a company, so you just put entrepreneur in the various different fields on the Google form, and we will make sure that you have your confirmation sent to you. And this is the sector that Ritaj will continue to develop. And I'd like us all, please, to find our little reactions buttons on our toolbar, and let's put our hands together and put your hands together to really welcome Ritaj back to the center stage and to welcome her to her students that are here today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yasmin, you've been working very closely with Ritaj. You are part of our 2020 summer series and you've been supporting Ritaj. So did you want to, I'm going to hand the mic over to you and then just then formally invite Ritaj onto stage, and let's get started for today. Thanks, Yasmin.
Thank you, Dr. Sam. I would like to welcome everybody. I'm super excited for session 2. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you, Ritaj, also. I'll hand it to you.
Okay, hello, everyone. I'm super excited for today's session, like all of you. And as you know, today we have a really great session, which the topic is brainstorming. So today is the day where we finally decide what idea we want to put in our story, so what we want to do. I see that there are a lot of participants here. There's Muhammad, there's Ola, there's Ranim. There are lots of participants today, and I'm super excited for us to begin session 2. So here we have session 2, which is brainstorm. So this session is kind of what I talked about in the first session when I introduced the outline. So let's go back to the recap and see what we did in last week's session. So first we have the recap, and we all learned about the Raskits platform, and we learned about how to actually get access to Raskits and how to start reading. And we also have a competition that I would like to announce today that we will just continue on until the end of the program. The competition is reading books from Raskits. So what you're going to be doing is just reading, because if you don't read, you're not going to write, because you won't be having ideas. So that's why reading is really important. And so that's how I actually got the idea of this competition, which is actually going to be a lot of fun for everyone. So the competition is that you just read books and try to read a lot of books throughout this program, because in the end we are going to give prizes to the top maybe 5 or 3 that have read the most throughout this program. So now that I finished the recap, which was learning about the rest of the platform, introducing the program, and also reviewing the program's outline, which is this outline. So last week we did the introduction. We learned about what I told you in the recap, and today we'll be doing brainstorming. I'm really excited for this session. You cannot tell how excited I am for today. So next week we'll be literally begin writing. We'll write the beginning, which is also called by many writers the hook, because why it's called that? It's because it just hooks your readers, the part where you really need to focus on when you're writing. So now I have a really great question for you that I have prepared, which is, do you have a memorable character from any book? This book can be fiction, and it could be any character, maybe an enemy, and a lot of things. So just tell me if you have any memorable character from any book, and Yasmin, if you could, just read everyone's answers, because I would really like to hear from everyone. Again, this could be an enemy. This could be the main character. This could be from any popular book or any book you have read. I do have lots of books here. So Yasmin, if you could just read those answers, because I'm really excited to hear them.
Yeah, so Fidal here said Secret 7, whole gang protagonist. This is also from Muhammad. A memorable character from my side is Connor Billy from The Land of Stories, and Artemis Fall from the book Artemis Fall. Also, this is answer from Raneem. Canon was my favorite character growing up. I think maybe she means Conan. Fidal also said Secret 7, Cheeky Charlie antagonist. Oh, he already have an idea about the protagonist and antagonist, I guess.
Yeah, good. And speaking about protagonist and antagonist, we'll get that to a couple of minutes. Okay, so now that we finished the questions, I'm really excited, and I'm really happy to see that everyone's just getting interactive and just beginning to really just go with the flow, because we're here to learn and write. So now I already have an idea about what the story's theme is, about what we're going to be writing. So here we have the story's theme. Here's the story's theme. In a world where people are hiding from each other, trying to be distant so they don't catch the virus, we continue to wear a mask and gloves for precautions. Yet still, people are catching it. Just when the world began to accept that this is the new normal, a young scientist came up with the vaccine. But alas, it is not out yet. And this scientist needs help to create more of the cure, and needs a trustworthy team to help save the world. So this, I think, is a great story theme. And we're going to be writing our story on this theme. What we're going to be brainstorming here is, we're going to be brainstorming the protagonist, which I'll get to the meaning right now. We'll get to be knowing how the protagonist should be, and what they would do in this situation, and just how their character is, and how do they react to things. So that's what I mean about building the protagonist character or brainstorming the protagonist. So here we have the keywords. We have protagonist and antagonist. Protagonist means hero, which another synonym for it, also popular, is main character. You may hear main character a lot, but protagonist, I think it's a really great name for the main character, because I think it really gets you to just know what kind of protagonist you want to just build, or you just know the feeling when you write about it. So I also have antagonist, which is the opposite of protagonist, and its meaning is enemy. So it's an enemy or foe, and it's just the opposite of it. So now that I have told you about the keywords and just given you a few meanings about them, let's go to brainstorming. What it means and what we'll be doing in this session. So here, brainstorming, in this session we'll be covering brainstorming and how to do it. This may be the most crucial part in this course. That means it's the most important part in this course, because if you don't have an idea, you don't have a story. No idea, no story. Simple as we speak. So now that we just gave you some introductions about brainstorming and just talked about several things, let's go and deep dive into brainstorming the protagonist, where we're going to be really brainstorming. So here we have brainstorming the protagonist, and it requires three main things that I have noticed when I wrote my books or just read other books from other authors. So first we have building the protagonist character, which is like maybe the protagonist is just a happy-go-lucky character, or maybe he or she is they just don't like to be with other people and just like to be maybe put their head in their book and just read. And so that's maybe the kind of characters that we would like to aim for. And here we also have writing what the protagonist likes. So maybe they like reading, as I said, and maybe they like, I don't know, just skating, anything. It could be anything, really. They could like illustrating and drawing. So it could be a lot of things. There are lots of ideas out there that we might want to just put in our protagonist. And the third thing is what the protagonist's favorite hobby is. So the favorite hobby might be, well, think about it with me. It may be let's see, maybe they like drawing. Maybe it could, 2 and 3 could be just part of one main thing that we would want to just include. So there are a lot of possibilities in this world, and the possibilities are not endless, they are limitless. So here we have some protagonists that are maybe familiar with all of you. So here we have Snow White, and we have from Toy Story 4 and all the Toy Story series. And here we have Frozen, which is from part 2. I think you noticed that because of her clothes. It kind of seems more detailed than in the first part. Do you agree with me? Anyways, now that I showed you some examples on protagonists, let's go to the real main thing that will make you maybe just give you some trigger into your mind, and you know what I mean when I talked about the main things that you must include when you're brainstorming a protagonist. So here, the first example is from Harry Potter, The Philosopher's Stone. All of you may be really familiar with this book, as I am familiar with it. So here we have, when mysterious letters start arriving on his doorstep, Harry Potter has never heard of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. They're swiftly confiscated by his aunt and uncle. Then, on Harry's 11th birthday, a strange man burst in with some important news. Really important. Harry Potter is a wizard and has been awarded to study at Hogwarts. And so the first of Harry Potter adventures is set to begin. Well, now you may have found the three main things that that I took from the summary, and maybe you haven't, because if you haven't seen it clearly as me, I'm going to show you what the things that I noticed, or when I read this summary, what are the main things that I have seen or read. So first, building the protagonist character. From the cover, it looks like his character is adventurous and just maybe he likes to get in trouble. And so something like that, because the feeling of just seeing his face and seeing how the look he gave us in the cover of the book, it just shows us that he is onto something. And now, writing what the protagonist likes. So when they say that Harry Potter had never heard of the School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, this sentence has already triggered our mind, and we just know that maybe he will like magic, and because he is going to be learning magic, and he has never heard of this school, which is called Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. So the last thing, we have the protagonist's favorite hobby. Well, from the looks on his face, it looks like he really loves magic, as I said, because the points 2 and 3 are really, it's just like that they're connected to each other, what the protagonist likes and his or her favorite hobby. So they really connect with each other. It's like there's a link between them. So now let's go to another book, which is one popular book, which is maybe familiar with all of you, because this book has been really popular these days, which is called Diary of a Wimpy Kid. So just as I did in Harry Potter's example, I'll do in Diary of Wimpy Kid's example. I'll be reading the summary, and you could just see what kinds of points you can see here. And then after this example, I'll give you an example that you guys can just figure out where the points there are. So Greg Heffley is the author of the diary. He has just started middle school. He is best friends with Rowley Jefferson, who is extremely unpopular and cares little about middle school. And Greg, however, is more conscious of his social status and how others perceive him now that he's in middle school. Well, he looks like he's in a really bad situation that he needs to just find the solution. So what's great about summaries, book summaries, is that it may be the key to hook your reader. So now I'm really hooked to read this book, because I now know that maybe the protagonist has, maybe me and the protagonist have something in mind, or just feel the same thing. I could feel the same thing about as a protagonist feels. You get me, right? Okay, so the points here are, first we have protagonist character. Excuse me. The protagonist character. So here his character might be really conscious, and he's really focusing on his social status, because he wants to know how everybody perceives him and how they think of him. So his character might be like just really a focused character, and what the protagonists like. So maybe they like just texting on their phone. So now I really know, I haven't known this, but he does have a phone in the series. Yeah, I thought so because his character just seems more conscious of everything and just he wants to know how people think of him. So that's his character. And maybe what he likes is, as I said, typing or texting on his phone. And the third point where I said the protagonist's favorite hobby. Well, his hobby might be playing with his best friend, Raleigh Jefferson, because when the author introduced this in the summary, it's like we already know that Raleigh Jefferson is maybe near being a protagonist himself. So now that I have given you this example, I have another example that I'd like you to try on. So this example is from The Secret of the Snow, which is by Thea Silton, which is also the protagonist of this book. So now I want you to try and find those 3 points, which are building the protagonist's character and writing, excuse me again, and writing what the protagonist likes and what the protagonist's favorite hobby is. So please write in the chat. Feel free to write in the chat about. I'll just read the summary and you can check out the 3 points and just type them in the chat. Thea Silton and Thea Sisters. Thea Silton is the protagonist. Thea Silton and the Thea Sisters are called to help an enchanted land. It's a world linked to the legends of Japan, and it is in danger. The realm's special lotus flowers are disappearing, and no one knows why. The mouselets set off to on a quest to solve this mystery. They must discover the secret of the lotus flowers, but can they trust the strange magical creatures that they meet on their way? It's a Fab Mouse adventure. So now, if you could, just find the 3 main things that I have read or told you about. So just to remind you, the 3 main things is 1, brainstorming a protagonist, 2, writing what the protagonist likes, and 3, what the protagonist's favorite hobby is. So just write the main things that you have known about from the summary and just put them all in chat. So maybe I think you'll be needing a hint, just a little small hint. So if you want to just talk about it using your mics, you can just raise your hand and I'll just pick the ones who are raising their hands to just tell me where they found the 3 main things. So in the toolbar below, you could see, or when you click on yourself, you could see the raise your hand. Maybe it's an emoji, I don't know, but I think it's an emoji, and you could just click on it and it'll just raise your hand. Or if anyone would like to talk about anything, just okay. So I'll give you a hint. So the hint is Thea Silton. I'll just give you about the character Thea Silton. Thea Sultan is a correspondent in publishing a newspaper in New Mount City. So she's a writer and also a journalist, and she returns back to her old school, which is Mouseford Academy, and there she teaches. She has 5 star pupils, and they're called the Thea sisters. They're called that because of Thea, because she's like older than them, and they just began being friends, and they continue on their journey. So when I said these things, I think you may find the small hints. But if you want me to talk about the 3 main things, I can do that. If you maybe don't have an idea about what kind of things that this summary gives you. So just write in the chat if you want me to just talk about it. Okay, so I'll talk about it. Okay, so first we have building the protagonist's character. The protagonist's character is adventurous and just likes to discover new things. And when I said she is a journalist, you may already know that she likes to go on adventures and just discover new things about the world and travel everywhere. So that's point 1. Point 2, that is writing what the protagonist likes. Thea Sultan likes to go on adventures with the Thea sisters. So that's what she likes. And what's her favorite hobby is discovering new things about new places. Okay, so these are the 3 points. So now let's go into the really most exciting part where we will be brainstorming. So I'll just stop my sharing. Okay, so we brainstormed, and we also now have brainstorming the idea. So brainstorming an idea has 3 main things that you may want to include in your story. So we have defining a problem, and this is really the most important thing that you may want to have. You may want to define a clear problem for the protagonist, and define the events, and also define the end of the story. So these 3 things are really important. The first one is the most important because the problem is what kind of hooks the reader in the middle of the story or throughout the whole story. Maybe we could introduce the protagonist problem in the first chapter even. Maybe it could be the first sentence. So in next week's session, we'll be talking about that more, and we'll just be talking about how this is really, I don't know, it's really important for the protagonist. So the second main thing is defining the events. So the events can be like have lots of plots and everything, and it's just really important to make really great events in I don't know, the story, because it's really important. So now that you have an idea about what brainstorming the idea means, so here in the more details, we have just 2 main things that we want to include. we have choosing the right setting, and we have choosing the right characters for the book. Because if we gave the protagonist, which is our scientist, a farmer, that would be a really funny story, and it maybe not be working out really great for the reader, because what we really want to do is hook our reader. And when I say hook our reader, I really mean it, because it's really important to focus on hooking your reader and just getting ideas that will just grab their attention. So we'll just write the setting. We have the setting, which is the places that the protagonist goes to or just visit on their way. Now, I want to talk about the assignment that I'll be giving you. So not really like an assignment, but it's like the page where you fill out all your ideas that you have to write in the story. If you have another idea about the protagonist, or if you come up with another one after the session, it would be okay to just write it in another place, or in a template. So I have a template that it's going to be a surprise, so I'm not going to be showing it to you here in this session. So you will receive a message after this session. You will receive a message which has the template. You will be writing the protagonist and idea and more details. So I'll be giving a template which you will brainstorm in. So in the next session, which will be Tuesday, 28th of July at 10 a.m., we will begin my favorite topic, which I will be looking very, very, very forward to, more forward than any session. Our topic will be the beginning, which is also called by many authors the hook. So why it's called the hook again? I really like to talk about this. It's because it's the part where you hook your reader. I mean, literally, it's the part where you start writing and find a great plan to hook your reader. So maybe you could hook them with a question, or maybe with, you could begin your story with an actual question. Maybe, where am I? Could be a great question. So I'm not going to spoil all the fun for next week, so I'll just leave those for next week. So now I'm open for any questions. Just a note, next week we won't have what it's called. We won't have keywords for the next session, because protagonists and antagonists are the main things that we want to focus on, the words that I'll be saying a lot. And in this session, you may have heard me a lot saying this. So now, I'm open for any questions.
Yes, thank you, Ritaj. I guess Lean is raising her hand. If you would like to open your mic and speak, yes.
Okay, when you said next week, 28th of July, do you mean same time as today?
Yes, it will be 10 a.m.
Okay, thank you.
Same as today. You're welcome.
Okay, Ritaj, can you just again explain the assignment for everybody?
Okay, so the
Thank you.
assignments is going to have brainstorming the protagonist and the idea, and also the details. So it will be the same thing as we did in the session, but it could be a great opportunity to just put more into your ideas. You could write them all down on a note, so you could have more space to write your ideas in. So I see Fadil raising his hand. So if you have a question, open your mic. Okay, so I don't think anybody has any questions, but so I just wanted to know this. In the next session, I'll be also giving you a recap on this session, so you don't forget what we learned today, because we learned about a lot of ideas that are possible to write, and it's just so amazing that we could in this meeting we could just exchange ideas about future books and the story we're going to be doing right now, we're going to be doing in this program. And what the reason I did for this program, I just wanted to answer that question if anyone had it in their mind. The reason I did this program is because I really want to motivate all the young writers who look up to authors. So it may be impossible, you may think it's impossible, but one day you will be a great writer that you have never thought about yourself. So I think that's all for today.